It's been 2 years, but Warley is finally back, and here's a taster of some of the layouts I enjoyed at this year's show. First up, courtesy of the Tan-y-llyn Railway, is Ffarquhar Branch, built by the Reverend W. Awdry, creator of Thomas the Tank. Here's Thomas arriving at the station with Annie and Clarabel. The layout depicts the terminus of the titular tank engine's branch line, Ffarquhar Station. The branch line is part of the North Western Railway in the island of Sodor, off the northwest coast of England. The rolling stock of the layout dates from between 1928 and 1982, all built by the Reverend himself. Engines such as Percy, Mavis and Toby are the first models ever made of these iconic characters in the world, and were even used by the illustrators of the books as reference. The layout runs to a timetable which covers a whole day's work and is shown in 3 sections, each lasting about 20 minutes. The layout usually resides on display in the narrow gauge railway museum at the Tan-y-llyn Railway, which was left to the Railway Society by the Reverend Awdry when he passed. Here we see Toby heading towards the quarry with the workmen, before Daisy arrives at the station from Knapford.
I'm not the man in the rail car. No, I'm not the man in the
A short while later, and Daisy goes to the fuel room.
I say it to everyone who... Come on, Stepney!
And finally we see Stepney move from the siding towards the station with a special. Something like that, you go. Next is Fen March Depot, which is loosely based on March TMD, a British rail maintenance depot situated near March in Cambridgeshire, England. March Depot was a steam locomotive shed under British Railways with a depot code 31B. The depot code of the diesel depot under BR was MR. The nearest railway station is March, and the depot was located close to White Yard. Despite its rural location, in the 1970s it accommodated a similar number of locomotives to the comparatively larger Tooting TMD, and served as the main diesel depot for East Anglia. Here we see Class 25-286 departing the depot as a Class 40 passes through the servicing shed. Next is the rather splendid Kirkby Steam West. The layout depicts the location in the period 1955 to 1964, which covers the early part of the transition period from steam to diesel. The layout is 6.6 metres, and is a continuous loop with storage sidings at the back, and is operated from within the central area. It appeared as Layout of the Month in Railway Modeler, November 2003, and is also in Hallway Magazine issue number 5, in November 2007. A former LMS Crab takes a passenger working towards the station, whilst heading towards us is a BR Standard Class 9F with a very large freight working. Northbridge by the Warley MRC is an hour gauge layout. It's a modern-day heritage railway built to run as an end-to-end layout, with a town scene at one end and a traverser at the opposite end. The layout was to be loosely based on the Severn Valley Railway's Bridgnorth station, with the maintenance repair facilities, with the additions to not only increase the operating potential, but also the spectator's viewing perspective. Following the death of John Dalton, one of the group's founder members, it was decided that in his memory, the location of the town of Northbridge would be described as being situated in the Dalton Valley, which was on the English-Welsh borders. The idea of portraying a heritage railway gave the scope to run together classes of steam, diesel, or diesel hydraulic powered locos and multiple units from any of the former regions, irrespective of their size or power classification. An example is proved here as we see Class 9F Evening Star backing onto a rake of Pullman carriages. Melangoose is a OO gauge layout by Nigel Crowe. It is at the end of a branch line in Cornwall and is set in the period between 2000 and 2005. The main reason for the line's survival is the Melangoose Mill English and China clay works. Most trains are tripped to St. Blaise, but there is the odd occasional train from Parr Docks. The veteran Class 37s are starting to be replaced by EWS's Class 66. Also, the odd Class 0809 can be seen. Passenger trains are on the hands of the Class 150 and Class 153 sprinters. These run the service from Parr on the Cornish Main Line to Melangoose for Wessex trains. The baseboards are constructed out of ply under the usual construction, and there are only two boards, a scenic and another for the sector plate. Track work is SMP and Pico on the storage tracks to the rear. All the stock is from the main ready-to-run manufacturers, Hornby, Bachmann, Hellion and Daypole. All the wagons have standard couplings. Most of the locos have full buffer beam detail with a wire loop for coupling. All stock has been weathered. Maxwell Colliery Loading Point by Max Fowler in OO gauge is a fictitious coal disposal point set in South Ayrshire on a single track branch of the double track main line from Maybole to Girton. While fiction, it could have existed, as there was a Maxwell Colliery No. 2 and No. 4 mine alongside the Ayr to Stanner route southwest of Maybole. The layout is set primarily around 1988 to 1994, the main locomotive livery being train-load coal. Part of the double-track main line and the single-track branch is what is being exhibited. The single-track branch line serves the original Maxwell Colliery. The line to this leaving the layout beyond the viaduct, and from this junction, the line to the loading tower continues through open countryside. Locomotives will process through the tower at slow speed, and their wagons will be filled with coal bound for generating power stations in Scotland and England. The layout is built on open frames, which allows scenery to go up and down as the real thing. As the layout is set in South Ayrshire, with famous golf courses, part of a golf course is included in the scene. The layout is DCC operated, and most locomotives have been fitted with sound chips that portray realistic sounds. To reflect current life, the tower is to be closed, and this will be the layout's final exhibition. Here we see Class 58018 sitting at the signal on the main line, as it waits for Class 37239 to pass with a loaded coal train.
full training to training it.
Yeah.
He's going to come back out for about 2 years. It's a good scene, you know.
Once 37239 is clear of the level crossing, 37692 makes its way with empties towards the colliery. As the 37 makes its way along the branch, the Class 58 finally gets a signal and departs. Now is Ashdan Junction by Barry Platt in Awdry. Ashdan Junction is a fictional area based on the Cheltenham to Worcester line set during the Indian summer of 1976, during the last months of Class 52 Western operations, as we can see here. The station is a train spotter's paradise of all types of varied traction on freight and passenger routes on any given day. The saddest sight to be seen is the Old Oak Common to Swindon Works scrap train with Class 47 holding 3 scrap Class 52s, as we see now. Diverted mainline intercity express trains can be seen passing through, usually hauled by a Class 50 with Mark II stock. However, the most special and rare sighting is that of a southern region based Class 73 on the Dagenham to Halewood car train with the newly released Ford Fiesta. The expedition seems to be somewhat of a time machine today, as we now visit Smallwood, which is by the Redditch Model Railway Club in Awdry, also set during the period of 1976. Smallwood is a railway backwater town, somewhere in England, with a terminus station that has seen better days. Much of the glass is long since gone from all over the station roof, and the provision of 4 platforms is from an era of far more affluent times than the current general rundown appearance. The station still boasts a parcel depot as well as a small stabling point for DMUs. The future will see further rationalisation as the sprinter trains are introduced in the 1980s and the parcel depot is closed. This is a 3mm scale layout by David Wheaton, Aldgate Hill and North Folgate. The Aldgate Hill extension from Old Street was opened by the Great Northern Railway in 1888 in order to gain access to London's East End and the docks in particular. Unfortunately for the Great Northern Railway, by this time the Great Eastern Railway and the North London Railway had this traffic all but sewn up, so that it was only the passenger facilities that got built. The layout depicts the rail blue period between 1969 and 1975. This allows green diesels with D numbers through to blue locomotives with top numbers to run together. Trains portrayed are the local suburban trains to Finsbury Park and Hitchin, Class 31, and non-corridor coaches, as can be seen here. We now visit another 3mm scale layout, and this is Uppingham by Martin Ollie. Uppingham is a small market town in Rutland and was once served by a 3.5 mile single track spur from St. Junction station. The station was opened by the LNWR in 1894, closed to passenger traffic in 1960 and completely closed for goods in 1964. We move to Awdry and Charnwood Forest by the Saw Valley MRC. This Awdry layout started with the original idea showcasing Loughborough Derby Road Station, which led out to a viaduct in a straight up and down configuration. After a lot of thought, and with the hope of doing something different, it was decided that although the LMNW line closed to passenger traffic in 1931, they tried to envisage what it would have been like in the late 1950s and early 1960s if the line had remained open. The layout is 50 feet long by 13 feet wide and modelled to be viewed from 3 sides, with no scenic backboards. However, it can be reconfigured into a 60-foot straight layout excluding Whitwick Station and the goods yard. Here we can see a train approaching Whitwick Station. Most of the buildings on the layout have been hand-built in cardboard, whilst the Great New Viaduct has been constructed with individual bricks made of model clay. Final view of the layout is to see a ex-LMS Black 5 45307 turning on the turntable before heading back towards the station. My apologies go to the owner of this layout, which I assume is called Crowland Road, which I could only get from the station signage. I looked through the guide and I couldn't find anywhere of any record, so I assume it may have been a late entry. However, this wonderful layout is absolutely stunning. Here comes a Class 101 DMU calling the station and waiting for a path before a Class 40 passes with a friend in the opposite direction. I think it's safe to say, with its appearance of level crossings, silos and river, that this layout is definitely set in East Anglia. With the freight clear of the single line, the 101 DMU departs the station and heads away. Now we come to Chwarel Tegid, I think. I apologise. It's in Welsh, I'm not entirely entirely sure how to pronounce. However, this layout is wonderful, but I do warn you that the hand of God is used several times in these videos. But look at that, there's a working incline. Absolutely brilliant. The layout is intended to provide a representation of some aspects of slate quarry operation. It is not intended as an authentic recreation of a slate mine and is instead being designed for a maximum operational interest. The period of the layout is indistinct. It could either be an operating quarry near the end of its working life in the approximately 1950s or a present-day mining museum with working exhibits demonstrating quarry operations and occasional slate extraction for the production of souvenirs. Yoxton is by the Waveney Valley MRC. I do hope I pronounced your name right. The layout represents a small part of the eastern region of the British Rail in the 1980s. It features a junction station on a double-track secondary main line with a single-track branch. Some modernisation has come to Yoxton with new buildings. However, the old-style signal box and signalling still remains. Rationalisation has struck the goods yard, although a new grain storage facility now provides the main freight traffic. The rolling stock is mainly Tharish, although some kit-built items appear. The buildings are mainly from kids, with some a little adapted. Here we see a Class 47 on a passenger working arriving at the station, whilst on the other line, Class 56090 runs round its train. Move into 009 territory again with Tan-y-llyn by Steve Flay. This 009 narrow gauge layout is based on a North Wales slate railway and is rather unique in its design. It's an end-to-end, but the ends at the same end, if you see what I mean. Here we can see the train at the departing station, which will run round the layout and go to the fibber yard at the front. The layout is set in the preservation period in the 1970s. It had to include Welsh mountain scenery, a waterfall, bridges, typical stone walling and buildings to create an atmospheric and interesting scene. The buildings have been designed to have a typical Welsh feel, and along the back of the station area there is a row of low relief houses and even a Methodist chapel. The mountain scene was created by using Celotex insulating blocks, which are very dense and can be cut and scribed to represent rocky surfaces. The whole scene was then painted with matte emulsion paint with a colour called soft truffle, which was the nearest colour to the real thing. Once drying weathering techniques were applied, resulting in a natural finish. Various shades of green flocks were applied, followed by a static grass to give a rough pasture appearance. We now move over to Germany with Schwunischerplatz by Mark Fuller, German. I'm pretty sure I nailed the name of the layout there. This N-gauge layout is based on modern German railway practices, primarily from around the late 1990s onwards. Inspiration for the individual parts of this city scene was taken from a number of locations around Germany, including Berlin, Cologne, Mainz and Würzburg. The section of line to the left, for example, is based loosely on the high-level east-west line running above the River Spree at Janfasenberg in Berlin. I'm sure I nailed the name of that as well. We go to Cornwall now, and St.Ruth by John Russell and the Midlands Group of the 2mm Association, the scale being 2mm. St.Ruth is a 2mm fine scale terminus loosely based on Penzance, built and operated by the members of the Midland Group of the 2mm Scale Association. It's operated to a sequence representing a working day in the 1960s, including edited highlights of the surfaces found in the BR working timetable from the period, with appropriate locomotives and rolling stock obeying working signals. Viewers can follow what is happening on two small displays on the fascia above the layout, which show the current and next train movements and some explanation. Synchronized displays on the operator's side tell them what they're supposed to be doing. They usually have a front of house person stationed on the public side to answer questions and a quiz sheet with details for the younger viewers to post. The buildings are scratch built from card and are mostly models of the real things at Penzance. Room lights come on and go off as the day progresses into night and the sun goes down. The trains that run during the hours of darkness are also lit. The night scene is a popular feature. Here we follow a BR Class 52 Western as it departs with a pair of milk tankers. It's a quick stop at Severn Ash by Steve Pike, which is an 00 gauge layout, based on the old Oak Common turntable. This shows a turntable with a 23-road storage, a fueling shed and staff car parking. It is TCC operated with an ADM turntable at its core. Our final stop is with Andy Bryan and Peter Taylor's 00 gauge layout, Deadman's Lane, based on the Network Rail facility just outside Derby. If you enjoyed this video, then please click the like button. If you want to see more like this, then click the subscribe button. And if you have got this far, I'd like to thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again sometime soon. Bye for now.
Check with Ellie, because you could only go up at one end of it. Because when you stay with them, so you can actually get to put one of the chairs.